Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Jackson, and today I'm going to talk about judicial bias, civil rights violations, and unlawful enforcement practices inside the Westmoreland County Domestic Relations in the courtroom of Judge Matthew Smizzy in Westmoreland County. Everything I'm describing today is backed by evidence, certified mail receipts, court filings, Pacey records, and witness testimony. So we're going to kick off here with Judge Smizzy's bias and due process violations. He's a family court judge here in Westmoreland County. And in my most recent motions hearing to terminate all child support orders for lack of subject matter jurisdiction, Judge Smizzy flatly denied the motion without addressing legal foundation I presented. Even more troubling, I brought three identical evidence binders clearly labeled, organized by exhibit, containing federal and state law violations, and he refused to accept them into the record, which I asked multiple times. That's not a procedural choice. That is the denial of due process and suppression of exculpatory evidence. Indirect violation of the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause. You can see Goldberg versus Kelly, 397 U.S. 1970. I'm sorry, U.S. 254 1970. 42 U.S.C. subsection 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights. Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 11, access to courts and remedies. And lastly, we got Canon 2, rules of judicial conduct, impartiality and avoidance to bias. By refusing evidence that proves jurisdiction, Judge Smizzy violated the open court guarantee and the right to be heard, a cornerstone of any fair proceeding. When a judge knowingly shields county agencies from scrutiny, that's protecting the institution over the Constitution, and that's unacceptable. We can't allow that to happen anymore. It's been going on for too long, and we just have to, somebody has to do something about it. So, next segment here we're going to talk about is domestic relations and unlawful lien practices they have. Now, let's talk about Westmoreland domestic relations recently. They placed a lien on the sale of my former home, taking nearly $6,000 without any notice or hearing. I confirmed this directly in a meeting with the director, Tim Kowalski, of Westmoreland County Domestic Relations, and the deputy director, Gretchen Smith, as well, during a meeting I had there. Both admitted that no notice was sent before the lien was executed, and they tried putting it off on another agency. I guess apparently there's another agency that does their liens and finds them and enacts them and all that stuff, and they weren't notified until late, and they never sent me notice. So what we're going to do is we're going to now show you the action alone that violates. And these are the codes. So pay attention. And if you need to rewatch the video, it's going to be here. It's free. So by doing that with the illegal lien and not noticing, they violated 23 Pennsylvania CS subsection 437.4b, written notice requirement for lien and seizures. The next one, the violation, is 45 CFR subsection 303.2 Bravo 1, federal regulations for due process and support enforcement. 42 USC subsection 6544, state plan requirement for fair hearings. And Bennett versus White, 671F 343, ED, Pennsylvania, 1987. Agencies must give notice before collection. We know they didn't do that. I told you they didn't do that. They know they didn't do that, and that's the problem we're having here. Nobody wants to admit that they made a mistake. They just double down and dig in. So we're not going to allow that to happen. That's why we're making this video. Everybody needs to be educated on if you're paying support. And it's not even just support, it's courts in general, especially family courts. I don't want you guys thinking I'm attacking all courts or whatever. I'm attacking the court, the family court that I've been stuck in for over 22 years. I've been a good payer. That's out of their mouth. Mr. Jackson's been a good payer for 22 years up until this past January. And you know why that is? Because I actually used my brain and started looking into things because some things seemed off, and I started asking questions. And when I did that, they start pushing back. That's just what they do. So with the illegal lien and not being notified of it, those violations that I just read, those are serious. That's a direct violation of due process, conversion of property, and theft under the color of law. Because taking money from a veteran's property without notice or jurisdiction is not support enforcement, it's extortion under 18 USC subsection 1951, the Hobbs Act, and deprivation of rights under 18 USC 242. You guys look at these codes and start doing your homework. You're going to see what I'm talking about real quick. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, good for you. I'm glad you guys pay attention to some things. So the next segment is we're going to get into segment 3. Kind of happened today. Current threats and ongoing retaliation. So today, even after the illegal seizure of the lien that they took $6,000 off of me without notice, the supervisor, Jacqueline Henry at Westmoreland County Domestic Relations, is now claiming that I still owe $1,800. That's not a balance. That's a threat and coercion under color of law. When an agency knows the case lacks jurisdiction, knows the complaint was dismissed and withdrawn in the Pacey's record, and no proof of service is filed on the Pacey's record or the official court document, yet continue to demand payment, that's fraudulent enforcement, harassment, and economic exploitation of a disabled combat veteran and just a human being. Like, do you guys hear this? This is insane. And each of those that I just read off violates certain other codes as well, and I'm going to read them off to you just because I want to be thorough. The first one is 18 USC subsection 1341 and subsection 1343. That's mail and wire fraud. 18 USC subsection 241 and 242, conspiracy and deprivation of rights. 18 USC subsection 1962C, racketeering activity, ongoing enterprise. That is no joke. And when you have documented evidence, like I do, there ain't no way for them to get out of it. So when this kicks off at the federal court level, I really hope they have all their ducks in a row, because I sure do. I document everything, every conversation I have, who I had it with, what time that was, the demeanor of the person, my demeanor, the situation, who else was in the room, everything. Everything. So when I go to these domestic relations conferences, when they threaten me and tell me I'm going to be in contempt and I'm going to be, thrown in jail, I write everything down. You're not allowed to record there, so that's where they're smart. They don't want you to record, and I've been berated at a motions hearing about asking me if I recorded in the domestic relations office, because you know why? They're trying to trip me up so they can get me thrown in jail and shut me up on a wiretapping charge. That's what they're doing, because I'm raising such a stink and I'm bringing up the facts and the truth about things, and they don't like it. I got a big surprise coming up for everybody that's been following my story. I don't want to spill it out yet, but there's a lot of big things happening behind the scenes. I can't give it up. It's just too early, and I don't want to show my hand for what all I got. But I'm telling you guys right now, everybody is going to know about it. That's all I can say. So next, I'd like to get into what I call segment 4 of this video here, which is the bigger picture and accountability. What's happening here isn't just about me. This is a systemic pattern. Judges and agencies working together to silence citizens who expose misconduct, and it's about immunity being abused and justice being denied to the very people the courts claim to serve. As a combat veteran myself, I took an oath to defend this Constitution, not selectively, not when it was convenient for me, but always. And I'm keeping that oath right here by doing what I'm doing, by standing up and calling things out as I see them. And that's all there is to it, by exposing these violations publicly and lawfully. Anything I say in my videos is not libel. It is not slander. It is facts. Truth backed by documented evidence in laws, federal, state, constitutional rights, you name it. I'm not doing this just for the better of my health. I can tell you that right now. So another thing I want to get into, which is important, that I find that is very important, especially for people that live in Westmoreland County and are into, paying attention to judges and what judges are up there and what their backgrounds are and who's running again. I want to talk about Judge Smizzy. And when I say talk about it, I don't mean defame. I don't mean sit here and talk like a 15-year-old that's mad at their girlfriend or whatever it is. I want to talk to you about facts, the truth, and what I've dealt with so far. So before I close today, I do want to talk directly to the people of Westmoreland County about the upcoming judicial election in January. Judge Matthew Smizzy is running for a full 10-year term on the Court of Common Pleas. And I'm saying this clearly and unapologetically. Do not vote for him. He advertises himself as a man of fairness, impartiality, and respect for constitutional rights, but that's not the truth. I'm living proof that in his courtroom, those words mean absolutely nothing. Nothing. And that is a flat-out, blatant lie. So what I want to do now is get into a little bit of how Judge Smizzy violated laws and my rights. At the motions hearing, I had to terminate all support orders for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. Judge Smizzy refused to accept evidence binders containing certified records, PACES data, and federal law citations that proved Westmoreland County Domestic Relations had no lawful authority under the Title 4D of the Social Security Act. He ignored due process, standards of under Goldberg versus Kelly 397 U.S. 254 1970, which guarantees citizens the right to present evidence and be heard before any deprivation of property or liberty. I mean, we're talking about basic fundamental rights that we have as American citizens. And they're not doing that. They're not holding up their end of the deal in court. They're not holding up our constitutional rights. They're not holding up their own laws. He violated 42 U.S.C. subsection 1983 by depriving me, under the color law, of my rights to a fair hearing, impartial tribunal, and judicial access. He violated the 14th Amendment due process clause by refusing to enter evidence that directly challenges jurisdiction, an action that effectively suppressed exculpatory evidence. He violated Article 1, Section 1 and 11 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which guarantee open courts, and I think it's remedies for every citizen. He breached the Pennsylvania Code of Judicial Conduct with Canon 2, which mandates impartiality, integrity, and the appearance of fairness. That has none of this. Like, none of this stuff that is just basic due process, basic rights is not existent here. But anyway, by ignoring clear evidence that the cases lack jurisdiction, my domestic child support case lacked jurisdiction, in allowing Westmoreland County Domestic Relations to continue enforcement anyway, Smizzy also became complicit in fraud upon the court. You can see, I think it's Hazel Atlas Glass Company versus Hartford Empire Company, I believe it is, and I think it's 322 U.S. 238 1944. And yes, I do study this stuff a while. It takes time to remember. You have to study. If you're going through a thing like this, you have to know what you're talking about. Abuse of process, obstruction of justice, 18 U.S.C. subsection 1519. And conspiracy under the color of law, 18 U.S.C. subsections 241 and 242. So the broader consequences, when a judge refuses to even look at evidence that challenges jurisdiction, he knowingly permits county agency to seize over $6,000 from a disabled veteran without notice or a hearing. When he ignores binding federal and state law, that is not judicial discretion. That is bias, neglect of duty, and constitutional betrayal. No citizen No citizen. I don't care if you're just an average Joe, you're a plumber, you're a waitress, whatever it is. You don't have to be a disabled combat vet. You don't have to be anything. You're a human being. Anybody should be entitled to this. Any living being, human citizen, American citizen, has those rights and should be afforded those rights. And they're just slowly taking them away. You know, and no judge should be rewarded with 10 more years of power like that, repeatedly siding with the system over the Constitution. It just don't make no sense. So it's my public warning to voters if you vote. So the people of Westmoreland County, when you see Judge Smizzy on the ballot this January, don't vote for him. I wouldn't. He has shown through and through his actions that, he protects the institutions accused of fraud rather than protect the citizens of those institutions exploit. Vote for accountability. Vote for integrity. Vote for anyone who still believes that no one, not even a judge, is above the law, because the Constitution doesn't stop at the courthouse door. It neither should justice. And it's common sense, guys. I'm not here talking smack on anybody, a judge. I'm simply giving facts and my side of the story, the truth. This is the truth. If I could record in the courtroom, believe me, everybody, I would record everything I do in that courthouse to show you and prove to you I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making things up. I'm not crazy. They want me to think I'm wrong. When I had the meeting with the Westmoreland County Domestic Relations Director, Tim Kowalski, up there, I did have a little meeting with him because I'm entitled to, because they're still trying to attack me for money. So they put that lien on me, and I'm not just going to let that slide. I'm not going to let it slide. It's not going to happen. They've been doing this too long, and I'm not going to back down. So I hope everybody knows that. When you start something like this, you see it through all the way till the end, no matter what. So, a conclusion, what I want to come to today, I guess, guys, is just, everyone watching, know your rights, demand your paperwork, demand transparency. If you're dealing with child support enforcement, make them produce a Title 4D application that gives them the authority to do all they've been doing to me, threatening jail, taking your license away, suspending your official licenses if you're, say if you're a doctor or whatever it may be. That's what they do. If they can't produce that Title 4D application, they don't have the jurisdiction, and that's all there is to it. That is black law. That's all there is to it. If you don't have a Title 4D application and the case is 4D, they do not have jurisdiction over you. Look it up. It's not that hard. And by the way, this ain't no sovereign citizen movement. This ain't nothing. This is a man, a combat veteran, a dad, a son, a brother, and everything else that is standing up for his rights after 20-some years of this. Just not doing it no more. And now I'm going to put out the facts, the truth, and things are only going to get bigger, and they're probably going to get worse for the domestic relations of Westmoreland County in general. Right now they're saying they're broke. They're furloughing workers and firing people, I guess. I feel really bad when I'm done with them, because I don't think there's going to be anything left. This could have been done. This could have been dealt with. This could have been handled like normal human beings, normal American citizens, and a court should have handled things. But we don't have that here. So anyhow, and to Judge Smizzy in Westmoreland County Domestic Relations, you're not above the law. You work for the people, and the Constitution does not end at your courtroom door. It just does not. So, this is Jeremy Jackson, signing off today with Truth Over Tactics. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Wait for the next time we have a video. It'll be even better yet. Take care.